So incidentally, hi everybody, thanks very much for watching. I think I might be afraid this has been too much fun. I hope you'll agree, and I'm considering continuing just like that. And my phone is not cooperating, so just a second. Volume be just dandy, and I'm afraid we have a feedback. Anyway, files please. Why you not do the thing? It's right there, it's right there, it's right there, it's right there. Okay, fine. Bonk. So that's playing. Which means that I'm not gonna be concentrating much, as I'm gonna try to read one thing and listen to other thing at the same time. So anyway. Chapter next. Design your destiny. I was once at an international conference on how to alleviate poverty on the planet. There were several eminent participants in positions of public responsibility, including a generous sprinkling of Nobel laureates. At one point, a participant said, "Why are we trying to solve these problems? Isn't all this divine will?" And I said, "Yes, if somebody else is dying, somebody else is hungry, it must be divine will. But if your stomach is empty, if your child is dying of hunger, you'll have your own plan, won't you? Whenever we have had to do something about our lives, we have taken it into our hands. Whenever it comes to other people's misfortunes, we have a word to explain it, destiny. And what a convenient word that is. Destiny has become popular scapegoat, a way to deal with failure, a fatalistic ruse to reconcile ourselves to all kinds of uncomfortable situations. But turning inward is the first step from passivity to agency, from being a victim toward becoming a master of your own destiny. A variety of diseases that people believed to be God's will until 100 years ago are in our hands today. That is because we have taken a charge of certain situations. Polio is an example. The very word polio would strike terror in the hearts of many in recent history. When I was growing up, I saw quite a few polio-affected people about my age in school and in my neighborhood who were doomed to live out their lives in wheelchairs. It was a common sight, and it was an acknowledged fact that they would never be able to walk in their lives. Their affliction was usually seen as an act of God or destiny. At the start of the 20th century, polio was the most feared ailment in industrialized countries, irreversibly paralyzing thousands of children. Effective vaccines helped practically eliminate this disease in the 50s and 60s. When it was recognized as a major problem in developing countries, immunization programs were introduced. In 88, polio affected 350,000 children around the world in a single year. In 2013, the number had dropped to 416. By 2012, India was no longer on the list of polio-endemic countries. A combination of political advocacy, public and private partnerships, effective, reasonably priced vaccines, community participation, and teams of global healthcare proved that despite all the obstacles, even in a country as vast and challenging as India, eradication was possible. To the human means, you can mold situations you are living in the way you want them. But today most people in the world are molded by the situations in which they exist. This is simply because they live in reaction to situations they are placed in. The inevitable question is, why was I placed in such a situation? Isn't it my destiny? Whatever we do not want to take responsibility for, whatever we cannot make sense of logically, we label destiny. It is a consoling word, but disempowering. To mold situations the way you want them, you must first know who you are. The crux of the matter is that you don't yet know who you are. Who you are is not the sum total of accumulations you have made. Everything that you currently know as myself is just an accumulation. Your body is just an accumulation of food. Your mind is just an accumulation of impressions gathered through the five senses. The senses anyway. What you accumulate can be yours, but it can never be you. Who then are you? That is yet to come into your experience. That is still in an unconscious state. You're trying to live your life through what you have gathered, not through who you are. What's more, you are not even 100% conscious of what you have gathered. Are we? You have acquired certain tendencies over the years, depending on the impressions you have accumulated. These can be transformed entirely. If you do a certain amount of inner work, if you implement certain inner technologies, irrespective of your current tendencies, your past experience of life, your genetics, your environment, you can completely rewire yourself in a short span of time. Everything in this existence is happening naturally according to a certain organic law. If you know the nature of life within you, you can completely take charge of the way it happens, but within the broad parameters set by the laws of nature. What do we mean by this? Let's look at a concrete example. Although we are wingless creatures, we have still, in the last 100 years, managed to fly. How? Not by breaking the laws of nature, but through a deeper understanding of the laws of nature. So the technology we are going to explore in this book is a small part of the much deeper science that eventually enables an adept to take the very process of life and death into his or her hands. Your destiny is written by you unconsciously. If you have mastery over your physical body, 15 to 20% of your life and destiny will be in your hands. If you have mastery over your mind, 50 to 60% of your life and destiny will be in your hands. If you have mastery over your life energies, 100% of your life and destiny will be in your hands. Even now, you are choosing your life, but you are choosing it in total unawareness. But whatever you do in unawareness, you can also do in awareness. That makes a world of a difference. It is the difference between ignorance and enlightenment. Unpleasantness is happening to you in the form of anger, fear, anxiety, and stress. Because your basic faculties, your body, mind, and life energies are doing their own thing. When mind and body exist only to serve the life within you, why is your life currently enslaved to the mind and body? Isn't this a complete distortion of the way life should function? Taking destiny into your hands doesn't mean everything will happen your way. The outside world will never happen 100% your way because there are too many variables involved. Wanting the outside to happen exactly the way you choose is the path of conquest, tyranny, dictatorship. Once it happened, Shankaram Pillai, a certain South Indian gentleman you met in the introduction and will meet several times more in the course of this book, went drinking with his buddies. He thought he would have a quick drink and go home at 8 o'clock. And so he did. He had a quick drink and a quick drink and another quick drink. And then one more quick drink. He looked at his watch. It said 2:30. Drink makes people like yogis, timeless. He got off the bar stool. It is such an unfair world. A man is expected to walk on a round planet that spins. With great skill and dexterity, he balanced himself and started making his journey homeward. Taking a shortcut through a park, he fell headlong into a rose bush. Apologies. His face became a mess. He gathered himself and started making his way again. In this condition, he reached home and tried to find the keyhole. But those wretched keyholes nowadays are made so small that took another 20 minutes. He finally got in and stumbled into the bedroom. Fortunately, the wife was a big sleeper. He went into the bathroom, looked at himself in the mirror. His face was a real mess. He opened the medicine cabinet, took out some medicine and a box of band-aids and fixed himself, whichever way he could. Then he crawled quietly into bed. Next morning, his wife threw a bucket of cold water on his face. He woke up, gasping, feeling waterboarded. He said, Why? It's only a Sunday." She said, "You fool, once again drinking." "No, honey, I promised you 6 months ago. Since then, I haven't touched a drop." She held him by the shirt, dragged him into the bathroom and showed him. The band-aids were all over the mirror. Anyway, when pain, misery or anger happen, it is time to look within you, not around you. To achieve well-being, the only one who needs to be fixed is you. When you forget is that when you are sick, it is you who needs the medication. When you are hungry, it is you who needs the food. The only one that needs to be fixed is you, but just to understand the simple fact, people take lifetimes. Creating your own destiny does not mean you have to control every situation in the world. Creating your destiny is about steadily heading toward your well-being and your ultimate nature, no matter what the content of life is around you. It simply means making yourself in such a way that whatever the events and situations around you, you don't get crushed by them. You ride them. The spiritual process is not about imposing your ideas on existence. It is about making yourself in such a way that the creation and the creator and every atom in this existence cannot help yielding to you. When you pursue your own likes and dislikes, you feel alone in this vast existence, constantly insecure, unstable, psychologically challenged. Well, this is not counted. But once existence yields to you, it delivers you to a different place of grace, where every pebble, every rock, every tree, every atom speaks to you in a language you understand. Every moment, there are a million miracles happening around you, a flower blossoming, a bird tweeting, a bee humming, a raindrop falling, a snowflake wafting along the clear evening air. There's magic everywhere. If you learn how to live it, life is nothing short of a daily miracle. Oh, it's talking Bhakti Yoga. No boundary, no burden. It's another chapter, apologies. Once it happened, an argument arose one evening between a husband and wife. The argument was over the burning question, who should close the front door today? Not a simple question, and not a laughing matter. These are very serious issues in domestic situations. Who should close the door today? Who should switch off the garden lights this evening? Who should take the dog for a walk? These are questions that can drive couples to divorce. Divorce? Potato, potato. The argument grew more and more heated. The wife decided, every day it is I who, in the end, accepts defeat. Today I'm not going to give in. The husband also grew equally determined. She pushes me around all the time. I'm not going to give in to this woman today, no matter what. It was one of those grand rows. Now, every home has its own system of resolving these arguments. In this family, when confronted by an impasse, both husband and wife would sit silently. The person who uttered the first word would have to go and close the door. The two sat in stony silence. Minutes ticked on into hours. Dinner was on the table. If the husband said he wanted to eat, he would have to close the door. If the wife proposed dinner, she would have to close the door. Midnight. They were still sitting. A few rogues were passing by on the street. They saw the doors of the house open. Lights on, no party, nothing. Everything was quiet. They wanted to see what was going on, so they looked into the sitting room. They saw two people sitting there, steadfastly silent. The rogues looked at the silent couple. They were a little surprised. They decided to take a chance. They helped themselves to a few valuables in the sitting room. The two people said nothing. The rogues grew amused. Emboldened, they sat at the dining table and served themselves dinner. The couple sat heroically silent. The rogues were hugely tickled. What the hell was happening here? They grew bolder still. One of them kissed the wife. Still, the couple didn't utter a word. The one who spoke would have to close the door. The stakes were too high. Neither could risk it. Now the rogues got a bit spooked. They decided it was time to leave the strange household, but before they left, they wanted to leave their mark. They decided to shave off the husband's mustache. One of them approached him, a razor in hand. Then the husband finally spoke. He said, "Okay, damn it, I'll close the door." This guy and his stories, eh? Perhaps the scenarios are different, but are there not situations in your life that hinge on a similar question? Who's responsible? Who is responsible? Who is responsible? It is a big question. Let's put the question more precisely. Who is responsible for the way you are right now? Your genes? Your father? Your mother? Your wife? Your husband, your teacher, your boss, your mother-in-law, God, the government, all of the above? The condition is a pervasive one. Ask someone, why are you in this situation? Pet comes the response. You know, when I was a child, my parents, the same old story with just a few variations. There is an ancient science of how to create misery, and one in which human beings need no encouragement whatsoever. There is almost no one who is not an expert. Passing the buck is what you do in 100 different ways each day. You have collectively refined the old blame game into a fine art. The quality of our lives is determined by our ability to respond to the varied complex situations that we encounter. If the ability to respond with intelligence, competence, and sensitivity is compromised by a compulsive or reactive approach, we are enslaved by the situation. It means we have allowed the nature of our life experience to be determined by our circumstances, not by us. Being fully responsible is to be fully conscious. What you consider to be your body is what you have gathered through ingestion. What you consider to be your mind is what you have gathered through the five senses. What is beyond that, which you did not gather, is who you are. Being alive is being conscious. Everybody is conscious to some degree, but when you touch the dimension beyond body and beyond mind, you have touched that which is the very source of consciousness. You realize then that the entire universe is conscious. You inhabit a living cosmos. The physical and psychological dimensions belong to the realm of polarities: pain, pleasure, love, hate, masculine, feminine, and so on. If you have one, the other is bound to follow. But when you move into the fundamental dimension of who you are beyond all polarities. You can now become blissful by your own nature. You are the master of your own destiny. It is time to reclaim for ourselves the extraordinary transformative power of the single word, responsibility. Apply it to your life and watch the magic unfold. And guys, my Lyme disease is eating on my brain so hard right now. Being somehow stressed by the situation and the body, yeah. The situation in this regard just gotten worse recently for a reason. I cannot really do anything that quickly about it right now. So I think there was an enjoyable chapter or whatever. I'll bring a freaking pencil and mark it, and we'll continue next time. Apologies. Bye. Thanks.